Welcome to Chicago. As we convene at the Quest Multiplex Center, the Moore Foundation presents our annual Legends Taking Back the Streets weekend. And just so you know, these gentlemen right here, they're the men behind the Moore Foundation and the Legends Taking Back the Streets movement. This is a weekend of giving back, of honor, and of celebration. Along with the Big Ten Network, we celebrate the legends of Chicago basketball who came in from many parts of the country to participate in a panel discussion to help with some of the things that are going on in Chicago today. This is the signature event for the Legends Foundation. 4 years ago, two Chicago legends, Kenny Pratt and Jimmy Sanders, approached Howard Moore about doing an event in the city to take a stand versus gun violence in Chicago. They came up with Legends Taking Back the Streets. It began as an alumni tournament to gain camaraderie and show togetherness. The Legends Foundation now has evolved to give back to the Chicago legends and give back to the youth in the communities of the city of Chicago. We want this to be viewed as a celebration with recognition of impactful leaders, as well as a chance to enlighten and inspire our young people in Chicago.
Let the show begin.
That's the whole thing with the Moore Foundation. We recognize the problems and the issues, but we also want to talk about the solutions. The program that we do, Legends Taking Back the Streets, and how that's been such an integral part of what we do, and some of the other programs and partnerships, and just potential for so much more to come. In a time when our city is really desperate for answers, desperate for, shall I say, heroes, I think it's time for all of us to step up and really take a stand and, like you said, take back our city, take back our streets, because it's a beautiful city. But people outside of Chicago, they have no clue about what this city really is. There's a lot of resources that just kind of skips certain communities and certain neighborhoods. So again, the Moore Foundation is something that's engineered not just by me, but it's about what my family has always done. And my family is a very proud blue collar family. On my father's side, they're very proud of where they're from. They're from Abla Homes, or what's affectionately known as the Village. And that's what I claim. When people ask me where I'm from the Village. Even though they pulled me out of there at a young age, I was still raised over there. And a lot of my values, a lot of my competitive nature, a lot of who I am, I learned in those little playgrounds like Fosco Park or Medill and Smith. All of those little places, Big Field at 15th and Loomis. I got in scraps and got my butt whooped and won a couple battles. But you fought and you got up and you were able to fight another day, instead of someone picking up a handgun and selling their issues violently and taking someone's life. So we want to get back to what helped raise us and instill those things in the young people today. And so not just the Moore Foundation is what we're celebrating today, but also what the people who have helped put the Legends Taking Back the Streets movement in place. And so with my brother Kenny Pratt, my high school teammate, my little brother, and then my new little brother, Jimmy Sanders, Westinghouse superstar, we all came together about 4 years ago. And we were playing in Jimmy's Stop the Violence shootout with all the high school teams. And, I had just got let go at UIC, so I was still licking my wounds a little bit. And but still, just in the community and just wanted to get involved. Not really doing that, I'm just kind of wandering. And so Jimmy grabbed me and Kenny grabbed me, and they were both like, hey, we need to pull our resources together, and we need to come up with something that we can really get everybody around, something that can really take off in the city. And so I thought about it, then I called both of them. I said, I got it. Jimmy, you've been getting all these guys together from all these schools. These guys are legends. And you know what you've been trying to do, man, you've been trying to take these streets back from these hoodlums. So we're gonna put it together, we're gonna call it Legends Taking Back the Streets. And all three of us was just like, yeah, that's it. Some legends have gone on and done great. Some legends have stumbled a little bit. But we're here to pull them together as a community and to really get these guys back on track and to help themselves to become better figures in the community to help be a part of the solution. So that's the whole mantra of the Legends Taking Back the Streets. Jimmy used to do a lot of it on his own and lugging around, jerseys and balls and trying to get kids in the gym and trying to do all this stuff on his own. And we just said, hey, we're gonna help you, we're gonna all pull together. And I'm very proud of what we've created, and it's steady growing, and it's been improving, and we're really trying to take this thing to another height where we're affecting these kids in a positive way, and they're being coached and they're being taught by people of character. And we've had critics. Okay, what is that going to do to stop the violence? You guys are, you're getting a basketball tournament, and you're playing in the gym, and everybody have fun, and then you go home, and guess what? Some of the kids got to go back to the same neighborhoods. Some of them have to go and fight and dodge bullets just to get back home from the event. And we understand that. But what the Moore Foundation is here to do is to let these kids know that they got somebody standing by them, that we're here as a resource. And one of my strengths is I don't have the answers to all of the issues going on right now. But what I want people to walk away from tonight and moving forward is that the Moore Foundation is going to be standing with all of these people that want to do something. All these communities and all these organizations that want to do something. You talk to them, you ask them, what do you need? And we want to open that dialogue up to everyone from the west side, south side, north side, and just get opportunities to figure out how can we implement the resources that we have and the connections that we have to help these kids in this neighborhood. My Uncle Leroy, back in July of 2017, was a victim of gun violence. And ironically, a week after we had the Legends event a year ago, he was shot and murdered by a stray bullet walking down the street, coming out of the store. And to get that call at 12 o'clock, whatever it was at night, and to go to my knees in unbelievable pain is something that I don't want other families to go through. None of us want to see that. But to have someone who was enjoying life, worked his whole life hard for his family, and earned the opportunity to retire, and then to walk out of a store with parcels and to get hit by a stray bullet, how is that even fair? Why should that happen? Just like a kid playing on his or her block getting hit by a bullet that wasn't meant for them. Why should we accept that? How can that be a part of our narrative? We got to change that narrative. And one of the things that we want to do with the Leroy Moore Scholarship is we want to reward a deserving young man or woman who has gone through what we went through, the pain of losing a loved one. And one of the strong criteria is going to be the fact that this young recipient had gone through and survived and thrived after the grief of losing a loved one to a tragic violent death. So that's going to be one of the criteria. The Leroy Moore Scholarship Fund, the program is going to be called Fishing for Scholars because my Uncle Leroy loved to fish. And if anybody that knows him, he would go to Wisconsin, Michigan, Indiana, he would go all over to go fish. And he would bring that fish back to Chicago to my parents' house, and we would fry that fish in the backyard and have a ball.
I spit rhymes on Big Ten Network and Fox, covering college basketball, and I'm overjoyed to be a part of the Moore Foundation. Whenever Howard calls, I'm coming because I know where his heart is. As all of you all in the room know where Howard's heart is. So I'm glad to be on Team Moore Foundation. And with that said, let's kick off the first question. And Howard, I'll let you start off. Youth in Chicago today, what options, outlets do they have to explore beyond their neighborhood?
Wow, not much. You know, I mean, you're looking at a typical kid here in Chicago in 2018, okay? You're looking at kids that are wandering through the communities with not much to do and nowhere to go. Everything now is charged, okay? They're charging for community service, for gyms, for places that kids like us grew up going for free. And so the guy that was the community leader, whatever you want to call him, the guy that ran the gym, the guy that oversaw this park, those guys are gone. And if they're around, they got to have something. Instead of a leader stepping up and saying, this is going to be a facility where kids are going to be able to come here, they're going to feel safe. We're going to have after-school programs for them to read and do homework. We're going to allow them to get that, you know, that full day of school out of their system and just run it off and just play some basketball, play soccer, whatever. It don't have to be basketball. But that is gone today. And these kids they come home from school and they're on YouTube or they're playing Fortnite, okay? And I'll be honest, my kids are doing the same thing. My wife and I are kicking them out the door, telling them to go out and play. But that's what it was. It was adults telling us to get out. And most of us didn't need that. All we needed was just the opportunity to just go out and play. And like Marcus mentioned, you were either working on your game, trying to find a pickup game, or play some football, or strike them out. You know, I mean, somebody had a spray can, and just sprayed a big box with an X on it, and yet you had everybody in the neighborhood playing strike them out. A bat and a ball. And that whole element is gone today. But it's us. We can't blame it on the kids. We were raised by good parents, by good adults. And there might have been some bad apples in the bunch, but for the most part, communities raised us. That's why the Village is such a unique place in Chicago, and I always talk about that because I grew up watching how communities raise kids. You knew that was the Moore kid, or that was the Miller kid, or that was the Davis kid. Everyone in the neighborhood knew that kid. And so you didn't do anything wrong, and if you did, they would punish you, and then you got punished when you got home. But the bottom line was that community was so tight that they wouldn't allow people to fail. And so when you had a Fosco Park, you had leaders there that made sure kids had something constructive to do. And I just think that's missing today.
I'm living in Sarasota, Florida, but I'm doing basketball programs there and kind of seeing the same things that I would see here, I would see there. You know, they got a neighborhood that's not that good. They got guys on the corner selling drugs. They got gang bangers. They got the same setup that they have here in Chicago. But my heart has always been here. So when I got that call to come here and do some things with Howard, it was a no-brainer for me. So I can't wait for this thing to really hit the ground and run. I'm going to be a part of it from here until we save a lot of kids, which I know we can do.
The issues are universal. I always say that the alumni in my sandbox was drug dealers, murderers, and college graduates. So it's the same experience. So as I travel here, my heart goes out to Chicago, but I think one thing Howard is doing with the foundation, what all of you guys are doing, is that you're stepping up and not asking for permission. I think for so long, we always try to get permission and validation from others outside of the community to go forward, as opposed to saying, we've worked really hard, we've created our own brand, now let's give ourselves permission to go forward.
I've been very gradual, and you've watched kind of the disintegration of the family and a lot of other things that took place. I think when we have the ability to immediately make an impact and to get involved, each one of us can figure out how we can take a few minutes out of our day, out of our week, to go find one kid in the neighborhood and say, I'm going to mentor that individual, right? It's no different than working in corporate America. As being a relatively young African-American man has moved up the ladder quickly, if you will. The biggest thing that I always say is I find a brother in the organization. I say, you know what? The best problem we can have is having too many of us in the room, so I'm grabbing somebody out of hand, whether you want to come or not, and I'm pulling you. And the only thing I ask you in return, you go find somebody else, you grab their hand and pull them. We got to do the same thing in our neighborhood. We got to go for those children, and we can't expect the children to figure out things that they need to be learning from the adults.
So I got a taste of both worlds, so I know what it takes. The west side is tough and grimy, and that south side is more finesse. And so I got a taste of that, and I loved it. And what I wanted to do is come back and let kids know it is an opportunity for you to get out of the hood.
My mother had to answer the community question, why you let your baby stay out? She said, because I know where he is. So I use that as an example that fortunately during that time when Detroit had that murder capital reputation, unfortunately, I was in a safe place. I was at the Y, my mother wasn't concerned, and I don't think I could have walked down 7 Mile at 5 o'clock every day and been free from that. So I think if you keep that to your point, that had a place to be that was safe, that was competitive.
I call it the four corners. I had the drug stores, liquor stores, gambling, gang bangers, prostitution, all in my neighborhood. Here it is, this little kid with a basketball. I have to get to that basketball court. So the only way I could do it was work on my moves. I had to work on my crossover dribble. I had to work on my spin move. I had to work on between the legs to get to that court. So one thing I know I can bring to the table, man, is the mental part of it. So if I was growing up, if you was growing up in the inner city of Chicago, you gotta have that mental toughness. If you don't have that mental toughness, it's easy for you to stray off to one of those four corners. So
You knew he wasn't up to any good. And he walks in, he walks around us, and he just kind of, just surveys the court. And then he opens up his shirt and he shows a gun. Doesn't say one word, just shows us. What do you do? So the first thing I do is I grab my brother and I grab my cousin. That's his time to go. And if he has an issue with somebody or something right now, it's not gonna be us.
Growing up in the Hilliard Projects, right across the street from the Hickey homes, I heard gunfire a lot. But I can remember what my grandmother used to always tell me. She used to always tell me, think before you do. And it sticks to me right now to this day. So when I hear gunshots, I don't run to them, I run away. And that's what I've been doing since I was little and to this day. I don't like to see the negativity. I don't like to see kids being shot at 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Usually back in the day, back in the 80s and the 90s when you had the gangbangers, they would wait to nighttime for them to start doing their dirt. Now, these kids now, they don't have an outlet, what you were saying, they don't have an outlet, so what they do, they just hang out on the streets, get in trouble, and go about their business.
I'll add to the first question a little bit. I've got $1 million idea, it's called the park. Everybody in here went to the park on their own, no adults. You had to govern yourselves, and the leaders emerged, the followers emerged. When you had a fight, all you need is these, Craig. Y'all remember that? Just like Howard said, I think the park is critical for our development because we didn't have adults around, and you had your own government system set up. You knew when to show up, you knew what the rules were, you knew how to conflict resolution. You either shot from the top of the key or you fought it out. But at the end of the day, you went home safe and you came back the next day to do the same thing. So I think that's what's a huge part that's missing with our kids is that it's not safe for them to simply go down to the park and self-govern.
You know what I'm saying? Represent, we're just all West Side, all day long. Just all up and through the West Side. Big West Side, Big W, yes sir. My brothers, Laron and Lamar, who are here, we've always been advocates of anybody, organizations that are trying to uplift the community. You know, you have a sense of success, or the fact that you have gone through lives that, you know, in terms of a lifestyle that we've had coming from Chicago, whether you're a ball player, whether you're an entertainer, whether you're a businessman, giving back is so important. Our parents always instilled, always give your fellow man a hand up. You know, it's not always about a handout, but it's a hand up. And it clearly is represented with the Moore Foundation and what they're doing. I think encouraging kids to understand that there's other ways that they can, you know, lead their lives, to empower themselves. And being from the West Side, I understand the importance of always trying to give it back. And specifically on this side of the track is because, you know, being in LA, you hear so many different things about Chicago, and then it does make the news. And you don't get a chance to hear about positive things that we are doing in the community, that what is happening on the West Side of Chicago. So the Moore Foundation is a representation of that, you know. So I wanted to come out and be a part and just lift my voice and shed some light on what the Moore Foundation is doing, giving back to the community.
Your travels around the world, and this is not an issue that's common just to Chicago.
Sure.
But how hard is it to represent Chicago in a positive way when so much negativity is rained out around the country about this city, and they know so little about the West Side and the fabric that make up the West Side?
Well, you know, it's not difficult for us at all, because the difficult thing is coming back to Chicago, not representing Chicago, and the family and friends, you know, they like, listen, hold up, y'all can't be traveling around the world and not represent us. That's the easy part. So when, you know, we've been asked to, you know, in some way raise our voices about gun violence, the awareness of just trying to find out what we can do to try to, you know, improve in that area, because, you know, a lot of these deaths and the violence that we're seeing, in my opinion, are preventable. You know, my father played ball at Marshall High. My mother and my father graduated from Marshall High. Most of our family went to Marshall or Austin. Some of them went to Proviso West. But basketball was a real thing for us. And we played ball growing up, even though we're short, we're in stature. The game is big. Understand what it is. You can't be from the Chi and not play ball. Now, I have 3 sons of my own back in LA, and I'm trying to say, listen, y'all got to have a crossover or something. That's what we known for. You hear your children will take your, will listen to your, or take on your action more than they would your advice, right? You know what I mean? So we can give as much advice to our children as much as we want to, but they really watch our actions, right? And for me, first thing in the morning is 10 or 15 minutes of meditation, giving thanks to the Most High, whatever that is. And it's interesting because I've seen my sons, 4, 10, 12, emulating that. Whether they were just playing around or doing anything, I see them in a breathing position, legs crossed, you know, back straight, and whether they're giving their thanks or they're just emulating them, I don't necessarily have to ask them to do that. And it's something that is important. Children will watch your actions. We can give them all the advice in the world, but to them it's just talking. They emulate what they see. Those are things that are important because there is action behind what you're speaking.
How do you think that we can incorporate some of that with these youth tomorrow, starting tomorrow?
I think the biggest thing with them tomorrow is to get them to just sit and think about their actions. To, you know, give yourself a chance to really concentrate. If I pick up this gun, what will happen? If I were to go to my cousin that has access to the gun and I get it in my hand am I ready to pull that trigger and deal with the consequences that goes with that? You know, and I think when we have our group come in, I always have a police officer, I always have a former basketball star or a legend, and I always have someone who was a little bit down on their luck. I don't want to just give them the good story. I want them to hear the whole movie, because they have to hear the successes, but they also have to hear the failures. But what do you do after the failure? But the bottom line is, when I tell people that I got fired, kids look at you like, oh man, you failed. But what you have to teach them is, you pick yourself back up. I was able to go to the Big Ten Network, and the reason I got that job was because I got up and I stopped feeling sorry for myself. I said, you know what, I'm gonna sit on the couch, feeling bad. Okay, it didn't work out. But guess what? I'm gonna go down to watch Wisconsin at United Center, and I saw Steve, and I said, Steve, who's the boss with Big Ten Network? Who's the guy that hires you guys? And Steve was like, hey, he's right there. His name is Quentin Carter. He's a good brother. Talk to him. And I go over and introduce myself. He said, yeah, I know who you are. He said, you know what? With USC job, they don't know what they're missing. But you know what? I'm gonna give you a call, and I'll give you a chance to work it through. Wisconsin makes the Final Four, and Quentin calls me. And remember, I go on the show with you and Jimmy and Dave Resnick, and we do a little show about Wisconsin. And I remember hitting Bartle like, man, I'm about to kill this man. This is my audition, Bartle. I gotta make this work. I told my wife, I said, make sure my shirt pressed, make sure the suit is ready. I gotta make this an audition. Yeah, but it was an opportunity. And unless you really get yourself ready, mentally and physically ready for that next opportunity, you never know, you might miss all the blessings that's coming your way. Is tomorrow and next year and every year we have that contact with them, we're going to give them every spectrum of life as we can, with the experiences of the legends that come through the door. And this has become something that's really unique, but it's also something that's very dear and special to us. And we're just loving the fact that this is growing and being organic. Like I said, people ask me all the time, Howard, why do you do basketball? Because it's the hook. We're all here because basketball is the hook. Like you said, your dad, he let you guys get that frustration out, but that's how we did it. Instead of going and fighting and picking a gun, we went and took it out on the court. And if I got you, you know I got you. And that's how it goes.
And you walk away with, again, a feeling of, it's not even a defeat. You can walk away with your brothers and your friends, throw your arms around, and y'all can, trash talk. And it stays there, it's safe. No one gets hurt. The only thing that really gets hurt maybe is somebody's ego. But that's fair. We'd much rather have somebody's ego shattered or hurt than a loss of life. So I commend you all for what you're doing, especially with the younger children. And I hope, just really quick, I just want to piggyback on something in terms of when we talk about parents and I think it's really important for the parents on some level to be involved as much as they possibly can when it comes to some of these principles that either we are sharing right now or tomorrow the guardians or people in their family, because it truly does take a village to raise one child, right? So those principles are something that the guardians and the people who are spending time with these children every day need to take on, and that accountability and that responsibility. And these are some really amazing gems that we're talking about in terms of meditation, in terms of physical activity. All these things stand equally balanced. It's really important principles to take, whether it's prayer, whatever it is, to pass along and maintain, not only for themselves, but again, if they're doing it and taking it on, children can see it. So I'm hoping that some of that can resonate to the parents and guardians.
So I gotta give it up to Howard more because he got Lorenz Tate in the house. And, I'm a Love Jones fan. I don't know about y'all. So I'm gonna open the floor up if anybody wants to ask a question.